This series is intended for mature audiences. We insist you heed the following content warnings before viewing. Horror themes, language, adult themes, and strong violence and gore, including gun violence. Welcome to the Weird West. Let us tell y'all a story.
Our story begins just as the sun is reaching high noon. There's absolutely no cloud cover, and you can feel the sweat on your backs as you step off of the wagon sent to fetch all of you from town. Deputy Briggs is there to greet you, and he gives you each a nod of recognition, and then averts his gaze and nods towards Sheriff Johnson, who stands with his hands on his hips in the doorway of the homestead that you've been brought to meet him. The Burrows' home. Pretty good people. You remember them announcing their wedding a few years back, but other than that, nothing crazy, noteworthy, or filled with drama. The sheriff currently faces away from the open doorway, and he sees all of you as you're approaching. Probably all in the same wagon. He chews his tobacco kind of sloppily and spits it down into the dirt at his feet. He rubs it into the ground with his boot. You've seen this look on his face before, almost a year ago, when you identified those bodies at the edge of the woods. He looks sick. His eyebrows are pulled together and every line in his forehead is wrinkled. His eyes look wet and dry at the same time, and sweat just soaks his clothing. It soaks his hair too as he takes off his hat to wipe his forehead with his forearm, and as you approach, he takes a breath and he says, "Afternoon." He reaches out to shake your hands. Will you please introduce yourselves, your characters, and kind of a brief description? We'll start with the Reverend.
All right. My name is Zach. I'm from Next TTRPG, Next Level TTRPG. I am playing the good Reverend William Elliott, also known as Reverend Bill. Reverend Bill is just over 6 feet tall, weighs about 280 pounds. You can see the aging mostly in his stomach region. You can see the gears of the metabolism slowing down and the graying of his hair, which is long and mostly still dirty blonde. But you can see some white starting to peek into his hair and into his beard. He is dressed in a black shirt, and you can see a very prominent priest collar on his lapel, at his collar. Long dark pants, black boots, a long duster, and he has a Bible that he's holding on to rather tightly. You can see the whiting in his knuckles. Obviously, he's thinking back to the year previous. And you can see the sweat start to form on him as well.
Jesse?
I'm Bob McDonald. I am playing Jesse Richards. Jesse is a youth, 17, 18 years old. He's excited to be here because he's willing to help. He pretty much idolizes the sheriff. When the sheriff brought him out of town a year ago, he thought that was the best way to help his community, is to become a sheriff. So since that year, he's been studying and learning to become a deputy himself. So he's not quite there yet, which is why he doesn't have a badge, but he knows the sheriff, the other deputies, because he is working towards that in the year that passed. He's anxious to get in there and see what he can do to help out the sheriff in any way. Best way to describe Jesse is that he's young, He's thin, like he's probably about 5'10", 145 pounds. Not a whole lot to him, but he is exuberant. And if there were like Boy Scouts around at this time, he'd be an Eagle Scout. He knows things. He spent his time, out in the wilds, sort of just learning how to do stuff with friends. A lot of people in town think of him as good stock. Like they know he's a good kid, all willing to do anything for you at any time. So that's Jesse in just a little short blurb, and he's really excited to help out and see what's going on, why the sheriff's bringing him out here.
And Katrina.
Hi everyone, I'm Amber Logston, also known as the Space Jamber on Twitter and Instagram, mostly Twitter. I haven't been on Instagram in a minute, sorry. Today I am playing as Katrina DeVine. She is an interesting character. She definitely is... how to describe Katrina DeVine? She definitely subscribes to that whole, that whole thing about, the higher the hair, the closer to God. But, she's already kind of tall as a woman standing at 5'10", but then you add the hair and that adds a couple of extra inches. It's tall, blonde, piled on top of her hair, on top of her head. And then she also has heeled boots that add like an extra like 2 inches or 3, depending on which pair she goes for. She does have like a long brown duster on, but underneath is actually like kind of form-fitting, skin-tight clothing, kind of, like a button-up shirt, and, close crop pants. However, it's just, it makes it easier to ride a horse and also maybe someone else, but, it is what it is. She had actually just escaped town the night of the identification of the bodies a year ago, and she had to identify the body of her best friend, who was gruesomely murdered, and that was a lot. It was enough, and also happened to be the Reverend's daughter, so it was enough to make her want to skip town and abandon all of the plans that she had to be a good old girl, starting an honest business in town. And really, she just felt like she had no reason to keep on the good track. So now she goes through the West.
How does she look now coming into this? We've got the Reverend that he's white-knuckled, kind of sweating. We've got Jesse, who's a little excited, but also, knows what he's probably about to walk into. How is Katrina looking? Rough. It's been a long year. She's been through so much. She's, where bags under her eyes didn't exist, now she's got like entire carts of luggage underneath here. She's, her skin is a little bit more tanned, because of being outside on the road so much, but it's kind of worn, from being in the sun with no protection. Mm-hmm. There's just this air of exhaustion, and almost like she's just like the light's gone out of her eyes now that she's here. It's rough. And seeing the Reverend after not seeing him, it breaks her heart a little bit. Yeah, so there are these just small exchanged glances as you're all stepping out of this wagon. You see the sheriff over at the building, and as he's shaking your guys' hands with not really words, just kind of nodding to each of you, looking into your eyes, he says, "I sure wish I didn't have to call you folks out here, but I reckon with your friends before." He kind of falls silent and looks down, and he says, "Well, to tell you the downright truth, I think whatever done that to those poor souls is the same thing that done this." And he just kind of nods back towards the open doorway that you haven't been able to quite see past. "I hate to tell you, but you said you wanted to be the first ones to know if we turned up any more leads, and I fully understand if you don't want to look in there, but..." And then he kind of turns his attention to just the Reverend, and he says, "Reverend, I figure if anything needs the Lord's blessing, it's them." And he just kind of side steps away from the doorway to allow you to see inside.
If it's all right with you all, I'd reckon I'd like to go first, and I'll grab a hold of my Bible and kind of tuck it close to my chest and walk in, and I'll take in the scene. I under the not the guise, because I am actually praying under my breath for the souls that have fallen here, but I'd like to kind of scope the room out and see if I see any kind of clues or anything in that vein.
Okay. Stepping inside, your boots kind of thud against the wooden floor with each step. You just take one step, two step, and by that second step, the smell is already just far more than you think your stomach can probably handle.
Just reach into my pocket and pull out a handkerchief and kind of hold it over my mouth.
Yeah. That third step, you have to stop. It's too strong, and as your eyes scan the room, you take in the sound of the flies that are buzzing in the heat already, and you see the blood spattered up the side of the wall directly across from the door. You see the dining table tipped over and kind of shoved against the wall, sort of obscuring whatever body is behind it that is responsible for the blood spatter all the way up. You see the second body is over to the left, and they are laying with their back on the floor, chest completely ripped open. Yeah. Chest completely ripped open, rib cage exposed, and they have what looks like a bloody knife almost still just clenched in their hand from their attempt at fighting back. Let's see here. Go ahead and make for me a notice roll. I believe your notice is a D4?
It is.
So you roll your D4 and your D6.
I got a 4 on the D6.
Okay.
2 on the D4.
Okay. So without taking many more steps into the house, you see the whole dining room window is shattered. It definitely appears to have been busted in. Something came in from the outside. And you see this table tipped over, shoved up against the wall. You see one of the bodies pinned between the table and the wall. And as you kind of tilt your head to peek over as best you can, you see their chest just ripped open. Blood spattered up from some sort of severance up their chest and up their neck. I am gonna have you make a fear roll for me.
Okay. What do I need to roll for that?
Your fear is going to be your spirit die.
Oh, okay. Ooh, I rolled a 2 and a 1.
All right. Let's see here. All right. So, your adrenaline starts pumping just harder than you feel your heart beating in your throat. You're not really sure if it's the smell or what. It's the smell. You feel sick, and then you realize it's your adrenaline just surging through your body. It's almost like your fight or flight response is taking over, and there's neither of those things need to be done. So your body is just kind of sitting there in this overload, and you have these flashes of the bodies that you found a year ago, and
I'm going to push my way back outside. If I have to push through people that are standing in the doorway, I'm gonna do that.
Okay.
And I'm gonna try to make it look like I'm less scared and let that adrenaline kind of drive me towards the outside where that window was broken in from, and like I'm going out there to look for clues, but I'm really just trying to get out into the fresh air and
Okay.
get that smell out of my nostrils.
yeah, so the Reverend shoves past the two of you, like not intentionally shoving or shoulder checking, just kind of throwing arms to get around. He steps off of the porch and begins walking around to the other side of the house. What are Jesse and Katrina doing?
want to say that Katrina, you know, deliberately is looking away from the house right now once the Reverend's in, because she just doesn't even want to acknowledge that she's been brought here, and that means whatever killed her best friend a long time ago still hasn't been caught. But knowing once he comes back out that this is so much, I mean, it's too much to even like turn his stomach, that perhaps this might need a little bit more assistance. So I look over and I'm like, well, Jesse, do you want to go in together, and maybe teaming up will make it a little bit less harrowing?
I reckon that's a good idea. Let's walk in slowly.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Alright.
I like motion at tipping a hat at the Reverend, even though I don't have a hat on.
Okay.
It's just respect.
Yeah.
He doesn't seem to notice. He is just chalk white. Sweat is just pouring down his face now. You can see it's running into his beard. His beard is starting to get a little moist with the dripping of his sweat. And you can also see that it's not, if you pay close attention, it's not just sweat. Just tears are streaming from his eyes, and he's trying to clear them up with his handkerchief to see if there's anything out here he can do to be useful.
Before we step in, I hand my handkerchief to Katrina so that she can cover her nose.
All right.
Thank you kindly.
Yeah, and as you step in, the smell does hit you, and you allow yourself to see as much of the scene as you wish that I had described. Wherever you would like to avert your gaze, this is the scene that is before you. You do see the Reverend's head kind of bob as he goes around to the other side of the house. You can see it is just a one-story home. It's on a little bit of a foundation, so he's not really standing directly at eye level with you. He is a little lower, and Reverend, you are on the other side of this window looking in. Go ahead and make another notice roll for me.
Oh, I got a 6 on a 6 and a 4 on the 4 actually.
Ooh, it's because you said that wouldn't happen.
I know it is. So that's 9 on the d6.
Okay. Looking at this home from the outside, you can see massive, like, almost like claw marks on the outside of this home from something sprinting towards it. It's very obvious, especially with that notice check. You also see one claw mark on the side of the home, and then the window is just busted inwards. Something came very, very quickly and slammed into this window from the outside to get into this home.
Are there any like trackings on the inside from?
Go ahead and make a notice check. You both can if you'd like.
Okay, great. Yeah, I was gonna ask if there were like any like footprints or whatever.
Okay.
Okay, cool. Ooh, I actually have a D8 for notice.
I got a 3.
I got a 2.
You are too distracted by the blood spatter, and you can't really make out any other details besides that. You see the bloody knife still gripped in one of their hands, and actually at this point the sheriff steps back in behind you, holding a handkerchief up to his nose as well, and he says, "Jonathan and Roger Burrow, good folks, never," and kind of looks around and sees the Reverend on the other side and kind of nods and says, "Never missed a Sunday at church. Roger was my son's 3rd grade teacher, and John owned that boot shop on the square." He seems to be more talking to himself than anything, and he kind of trails off a little and says, "Good folks." And he kind of takes a couple steps back to get away from the smell, kind of suppressing a gag in his handkerchief as he steps back.
I would like to follow the sheriff and like put a hand on his shoulder and just be like, if you need to talk it out a little bit or just kind of let it go, I mean, I can listen for you if that's what you need, if you need a soft hand.
He nods and his eyes look thankful for a moment, and then he kind of has this realization that he's supposed to be the one with the brave face, and he kind of stiffens up a little bit and clears his throat. He says, I do appreciate that. How are you?
About as well as anyone can be, you know. It's yeah, I think that's all I can really say. But yeah, y'all have no idea what this might be.
He kind of looks back in at the bodies, and you can like see the gears turning, like he's running through every possibility in his mind, and he just says, it ain't like no animal I've ever seen. And he just kind of looks at the bodies again, and then he looks over to another cart that some of the actual officers seem to have rode in on, and you see a little boy sitting on the cart, and he kind of nods over. Chester Shaw is actually the one that found him. I'm more worried about him. He was you would at least recognize him. He's a year older, but you still recognize him from around town. He is the son of kind of the local grocery.
Mm-hmm.
And he actually gets paid to deliver for those that want their groceries but want to pay for them to come to them. So he kind of nods over to Chester, and he's like, he was delivering the groceries this morning and saw the blood through the window. Came straight to us.
Looking at the claw marks on the wall and leading up to the window, the sheriff had mentioned it doesn't look like any animal he's ever seen. Does it look like anything I've ever encountered at any point besides that one night a year ago?
Go ahead and I'll let you make a common knowledge roll.
3 on the 4, 2 on the 6.
It kind of reminds you of like a bear, but he's right. Like there's just something different about them. They don't work like claws work on an animal. They're too spread out, they're too thin. You're not certain.
After I've collected myself, I'll walk back around and join the others.
Okay. You walk around and you see Sheriff Johnson and Katrina standing outside the house. Jesse, are you still inside?
Yeah, I'm just sort of trying to take in the whole thing just to see. I want to know if he can pinpoint like which one got it first. Like,
okay.
Like, would he be able to tell? Okay, it came in through the window. That person died first, and then this person was defending themselves, or...
Okay, I am just gonna have you roll. We'll do a notice. We'll do a notice check for that.
Okay. 6 on my wild die.
Hey.
So... And then a 3, so 9.
All right. So you're just sitting here taking in this entire scene, and you just like slowly, almost like Sherlock Holmes style, start putting this scene together in your head, and you can see plates of food tipped over, falling off on the floor. They were sitting here and they were having dinner together. You see some candles and some dried wax slammed down on the floor as well. You see they were probably sitting here having dinner. The knife it doesn't look like a knife you would grab to try to defend yourself. It looks like it was probably just there. Something slammed through the window, and one of them was able to grab the knife and kind of back up, and the one pinned to the table definitely got it first. Some sort of just slash, pushing off the table, shoved the table, and then went straight for the one with the knife. It doesn't look like... With that roll, you don't even see any signs of blood that doesn't belong to the two of them.
Okay.
The blood on the knife appears to be the blood of
Whoever was there. Yeah. Okay. With that roll, can I also tell if they left the same way they came in?
I'll say with the dirt that was kind of tracked in from sprinting in here, and the crushing of the glass, it appears so, yes.
Okay. So I'm gonna walk out and sort of give both the Reverend and the Sheriff and Katrina sort of the gloss over of what I just sort of was able to make out just from looking around without touching anything.
That was my observation too. Looks like they came at the window real fast. Didn't need a lot of support to get through it. And there's some claw marks on the outside of the house as well. It's definitely the same thing. And he'll look at Katrina with sort of a knowing moment.
Yeah, I'm sorry that this is coming back again and rearing its ugly head again. But I guess, like, we gotta solve this, at least to preserve the memories of the folks that we've lost.
I can't let this happen again.
No.
Last time I hid behind this and Pat's Bible, and I hid behind my good intentions, and more innocent people have died.
Y'all don't want to know what I've been through. I mean, what I've been up to, so I'll keep my pretty little mouth shut. But yeah. I'm glad that you've found something productive for comfort, though. I mean, you deserve it.
It used to comfort. It's just a distraction. And I'm gonna tell the sheriff when they've been collected, bring them by and I'll prepare them.
He nods, and he does say to all of you, he's averting his gaze from most of your eyes and from the home itself, but he does say, looks like they were killed in the night, and I know you have a bit of a personal connection with this, considering, so if you wanted to stay the night here tonight, once these bodies are taken care of course, maybe there is a chance we can catch the thing that's been doing this, person or animal or otherwise. Reverend, I know you can handle your own, and I'd be mighty thankful if you kept these two safe. Jesse, I would put you in charge of this stakeout and in charge of the safety of Miss Katrina, assuming she would stay.
Yeah, I would stay.
I figure the deputy and I'll head out towards the woods. We'd keep an eye out there. Hope one of us could catch something, or even a glimpse. I suspect you brought your weapons, like I asked you?
He'll reach into the cart and pull out a chest, set it down, and open it. Takes him a minute, and he'll pull out his gun belt, which is coated in dust, I'm sure. But he'll take it out and put on the 2 Colt peacemakers and the ammunition as well for it.
Yeah, Katrina's packing heat under her duster, which she would not have done before she skipped town, but here we are. So she also has a dagger.
Jesse already came prepared. He has a Bowie knife sort of strapped to his side. On the other side is his peacemaker, and then he also has his shotgun in the thong on his back there.
Sheriff, I have one question for you.
Sure.
Is this the first time you've seen an attack like this since the last time?
Yeah, I would. I've never seen anything like this besides then.
So how do you know this thing would come back here again tonight?
I really don't. I just know it's all we really have to go off of.
That's true. That's fair. Yeah.
The deputy and I will go to the woods with a few others and scout there around where we found them before. Unfortunately, I think that's all we can do.
Is there anything, thinking back to a year and just last night, that would be like a coincidence between anything like the time of year, the season, something like that Jesse is sort of like contemplating right now?
Okay, just go ahead and roll. We'll do smarts. Do your smarts die.
Okay. 5.
Okay. You're kind of running through the calendar in your head. Like, it's not the exact day. It hasn't been exactly a year. I mean, it's off by maybe a month, probably.
Okay.
There don't seem to be any specific holidays close by. You're really unsure. It's summer.
Okay.
Not really many leads there.
Okay.
Can I walk back around to where the creature both jumped in and out of the window?
Sure.
And I just want to see if I can pick up a trail of it going back a certain direction. Maybe something to give the sheriff a jump off point.
Okay. Let's see.
I'm trained in tracking if that.
Yeah, I was gonna say one of you have tracking. Let's go ahead and do that.
4 on the D6, 2 on the D4.
Okay. You can see the heavy scratch marks from the thing sprinting towards the home, but you don't see any marks showing that it left.
So it went back out the window and then just it vanished after that.
You don't see any tracks as if it jumped out the window.
Oh, okay. Ooh.
Oh. I actually am suddenly very concerned for my girls that are in the town over. Just because we don't know where this thing is going to show up next. And is there a way that I could like get a message to them to like hide out and lay low?
Sure. You could give that message to the sheriff and he can have a rider head out in that direction. He could even watch over them if...
Maybe not the sheriff.
Not the sheriff, but he could send someone.
Okay. Yeah, they...
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah.
At least deliver a message of some sort.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, he will send someone off to do that.
That would be so great. Thank you so much. I don't know what would happen if something happened to my girls. We've all we've had for the past year. So.
Not a problem at all.
Sheriff, you're going to be hard pressed to try to find this thing. I can see where it came in. I can see where it went through the window, but I don't see where it left. And something that uncaring about tracks and what tracks they leave behind, I don't understand why all of a sudden it cared about the escape. when it didn't care about the attack initially.
He kind of thinks for a moment, and you see a couple people waiting, and they kind of clear their throats, and he kind of looks and nods to them, and they begin going in to start cleaning up and begin removing the bodies. You see a cart actually be brought a little bit closer to the house, and within a few minutes they begin wrapping the bodies in sheets and carrying them out.
As they do that, I start praying over them and just kind of saying the last rites as they pass by. And my least favorite part of my job, but necessary.
That being said, the bodies would be cleaned up, taken away. Is there any other initial investigation or conversations you'd like to have before this scene closes?
I will take out my canteen and take a sip of the water and offer it if anybody needs a sip of water based off what we just saw and the nausea and everything.
The groceries, the grocery boy, he just found them. He didn't go in any way, shape, or form.
Correct. The sheriff, the door was locked for the night
Okay.
from the inside when the sheriff arrived this morning.
Okay.
I had the wrong thing unmuted, sorry.
You're fine.
So he was just dropping off groceries, saw the bodies from inside, and that's when he went to report to the sheriff.
Correct.
Okay, cool. I just wanted to make sure I got that line of thinking. Okay. Huh. And we don't know anything about like any last sign of anyone being in there? Overnight.
No, there's no sign of like a visitor over for dinner. Like even looking at the table settings, there were 2 plates. There weren't any signs of any extra guests.
Interesting.
Are there any buildings nearby this house, or is it sort of on its own?
This one's pretty on its own. Not too far from town, but solitary enough.
Solitary enough that nobody else could hear what was going on.
Correct.
Okay.
Looking at the boy, does he look to be like in shock? Does he look to be injured? Anything like that?
Looking over at him, he looks physically fine. He's still pale, and he's sitting there with this canteen in his hand, and he just looks really shaken.
I'll walk over to him and I'll reach in my bag as I do and pull out my handcuffs and sit down next to him and say, "You gonna play around with these while we have a chat for a minute, young man?"
He kind of looks at him and doesn't say anything, but he grabs them from you and starts kind of clicking them.
I understand you saw something pretty bad in there, huh?
He's just chewing his lip and looking down at the handcuffs.
I always find it hard to find the right words to say when you see something like that, and I'm sorry that you had to. And I know it's not going to be easy to talk about it, but when you're ready, if you want to come and talk to me or to the sheriff or anybody, if you saw anything, we're around. You don't have to carry that load by yourself. Why don't you hold on to those for a little while? Come find me when you're ready to talk. You can bring them back then, and we can have a word and maybe a bite to eat or something. I think I got some good crumble cake back at the chapel if you'd like.
His eyes brighten a little bit at the word cake, and he just kind of looks up at you for a second, like he's gonna talk. And then he looks back down.
I understand. All things when you're ready, okay? I'm here. So is the sheriff, and Mr. Jesse over there, he's willing to listen, and so is Miss Katrina. Both of them are good folks as well. And you can share your story with any one of us, and you won't be in any kind of trouble for doing it. Just want you to know that. But if you need to talk, you know where to find me. Take care of this.
His mother is standing behind him, kind of rubbing his back a little bit, and she has she's no longer crying, but she's got kind of dirt stains from just her own tears falling from her eyes, and she just kind of looks at you and nods thankfully, and then she looks to Chester and she kind of motions like, "Are you ready to leave?" And he just nods, and he kind of holds the handcuffs to his chest as he stands up, and they begin heading for their own wagon. He does stop about halfway there, like just before you're gonna turn and head away, and he just looks to you and he says, "The eyes in the trees were watching me."
Eyes on the trees. Do you feel up to showing me what you're talking about, just so I can take a look at these eyes for you?
With that, he seems to close off a little bit, mostly out of fear, but his eyes kind of look over to the little grove of trees beside the house. He kind of looks into those and then kind of curls back in to himself and kind of hugs his mother's leg.
I understand. You've done enough. Regardless of what they tell you, you're a hero. I'll see to it you get some cake, even if you don't come by and see me. I'll bring some to you.
His mother smiles again, and with more of a worried expression now, kind of glances over towards the woods and then continues walking her son towards the wagon. For that speech, you get an extra Benny.
Aw, Benny.
For cake, no.
Benny
Cake
for
always
cakes.
gets a Benny.
Yeah. The Reverend comes over the sheriff comes over and looks to all of you. He seems to be gearing up to head towards the woods from the year before, and he and a few people behind him are getting ready to saddle up, and he just puts his hand on your shoulder, Jesse, and just kind of looks into your eyes for a moment. He says, "You'll all be in my prayers tonight. And hopefully I'll see you in my office tomorrow morning with some answers."
I'll
Fingers
try to make
crossed.
that true. Yeah, I'll make that true. Be safe out there, Sheriff.
You and your men and mine as well.
He gives you all a nod, tips his hat, and mounts his horse, and within only a few minutes, this scene of dozens of people reduced down to just the three of you. The bodies have been hauled away. The mess is still left inside the home. You've been left with either the horses you'd brought into town or the horses you rode in on. And what would you like to do?
I want to go take a look at those woods that he eyeballed.
Okay.
I would second that. Jesse would think that's a good idea before sundown to get over to the woods and see if there's anything we can figure out.
I was going to continue to search around inside because I did not roll very well and I would like to search more.
Sure. All right, so Katrina heads back into the home, and Jesse and the Reverend kind of stroll over to the woods using the safety of sunlight to search around there. I'll have all of you make notice rolls for me.
Okay, and just to check, I also roll a wild die. Is that always a d6?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the wild die is always your d6.
Oh shit, okay. I rolled a 6 on my d8 for notice and then just a 1 on the wild die. So.
Okay, yeah, so we'll take that 6, and that is a success.
Both of mine aced, but I have a -2. Does that still count? Do I still roll again?
I will say you have your -2 for hearing, Since this is more of like a site-based thing,
Oh, okay.
yeah, I'll just say don't include that -2. That's fine.
Okay.
Is investigation and notice the same thing?
Investigation, if you would like to, okay, so notice is more of like a perception thing, like just looking around. If you would like to get hands in and like move stuff around and actually like physically be investigating the area, you can do that as well. But those would be two different things.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'm gonna try and I'm gonna use the barrel of my peacemaker.
Okay.
And use it to try to like poke around around the bottoms of the trees and like in the grass and just trying to see if there's any kind of tracks from this creature, any more claw marks in this direction, anything like that.
All right, that sounds good.
9 on my notice then.
I got a 5 and a 2.
Okay, successes all around. So inside of the home, is there anything specific you were hoping to find? Or any specific answers?
I guess for me is I'm interested to see if there's like a chimney or some other alternate way of entry that maybe you know what I'm trying to say, it wasn't immediately obvious. So.
Right. All right, so more investigating the house rather than the crime scene.
Right, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, looking around, you see a little like cooking stove with sort of a chimney like vent out of that, but other than that, there's no fireplace in this home. You see other windows. These windows here were like a double set.
Okay.
All of the other ones still appear. A couple of them are open just to air it out a little bit, but they're intact. There don't seem to be any more double windows in the house. The door doesn't look, besides with the investigation today, doesn't look like the crime scene affected it necessarily. It doesn't appear there was any other way out of the home.
Huh. All right. Great. Good info.
As for investigating the woods, looking around, this is like a small grove of trees that kind of widens as it continues on. And knowing the area, the edge of the woods where you had investigated a year previously is far on the other side of this grove of trees, and there's actually a road between that, separating a very large area of woods. And this is just the beginning of it on this side, but it's miles and miles of trees. As for looking for any sort of marks or anything like that, there are definitely more like broken branches. You see, with those rolls, I'll say you even see in the path that this thing seemingly took to get to the home, you see certain branches just completely snapped from either the speed or the weight of this thing as it was sprinting in this direction. You see a couple claw marks on trees as if using them to push past. You see other marks that don't really look like claws. Go ahead and do any of you have actually we'll do smarts. The two of you looking at the trees, go ahead and make a smarts roll.
Ooh, a 6 on my wild. 10.
Nice.
5s on both.
Okay. So both of you looking at these trees, you see, I mean, you're no strangers to the woods necessarily. You know what it looks like when deer rub their antlers on trees. You see a lot of that, and you see a lot of that a lot higher than it should be.
I was just about to ask that, like, how high are they?
Is it
Okay.
possible to try to kind of create a, not necessarily template for the creature, but is there a way to, or whatever it was, is there animal, whatever, is there a way to try to maybe figure out how big this creature or this thing could have been based off of the damage that put through?
The claw marks appear to be all over. It's not like a certain height or anything where the claws are placed. You've seen them scratch against the ground, scratch against certain parts of the trees. The antler marks that you're seeing, they appear to be a good few feet higher than these claw marks. We're looking at maybe 9-10 feet.
Did the sheriff or the boy in any occurrence, I don't remember, did he ask, or did he say what time he came and brought the groceries?
He did not. The sheriff mentioned he came by early this morning.
Okay. Okay. I think we need to find out when he showed up to bring those groceries. It could give us whether or not this creature is out after the sun comes up, or if it only comes out at night.
Well, if they were eating dinner,
The boy said that he saw eyes in these trees when he delivered the groceries this morning. I don't know what time that was, but it might tell us something.
yeah. So if they're eating dinner, say 6, 7 o'clock at night, get attacked. This beast jumps in, disappears, but the boy sees the eyes in the woods when he comes by. I say we keep our eyes towards these woods tonight, just in case.
Yeah, I believe this is where we're going to want to put our attention. I think what we can do, since the house is already a wreck, use whatever salvageable material we can find to barricade and give us one entry point in and out that we can watch. It'll be easier to maintain a defensive position that way. Perhaps whatever window or door leads to these woods would be best.
Yep.
In that case, the windows that were slammed through, that would be directly facing these woods.
Okay. So I will go back in and start trying to pull the table away from the wall and try to barricade the door and basically barricade any other entrance or exit points aside from that one window that we can sit and watch through.
Okay.
Be best to also, if we keep the light at our backs,
Yeah.
keep us from being blinded by the darkness ahead of us, so when it gets dark.
Is there a journal anywhere in here that maybe like the parent or the kid was keeping that maybe, you know, maybe they noticed the eyes too?
Do you have an investigation skill?
I have notice.
This would be more of kind of searching around. So you can roll for it if you'd like. You do your it'll be your D4 -2 for it being unskilled. If you want to actually like loot this bedroom to look for some sort of a journal.
Okay. Well, actually, here, I'm going to make a case. I have thieving.
Okay.
So could I use my thieving skills to be able to search around and be like, do that?
I will say yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Cool. Dope. All right. So then I'm going to roll the D8 instead. Okay. Sweet. That is a 6 on the D8, and that's going to be a 4 on the D6.
Okay. So looking around this bedroom, you will be able to find like a very just basic leather-bound journal. Flipping through it, we'll say you're doing this kind of while the Reverend's moving the tables around and getting things boarded up. While flipping through this, you don't find anything like they were scared of the woods or suspicious of the woods or any eyes in the trees or anything like that. There doesn't seem to be anything off at all in this journal. You, from a while ago, see like wedding planning, basically, in it. Like they were planning their wedding from a few years back. They seem to not use it often. It seems to be more for notes.
Okay.
But the last entry seems to be like a scribbled down like grocery list from weeks ago.
Huh. Okay. All right. Good to know. Thank you. But I do let folks know, like, hey, this is what I found in the journal. There was supposedly wedding planning going on, but it stops like abruptly, and then it just becomes like a note keeping.
We mentioned talking to Chester again. That would involve a trip back to town, unless you were wanting to do it in the morning. Are we kind of here for the night, or
Yeah, I don't want to leave the property just yet in case something does come back, but as soon as we get set up and everything like that, then maybe tomorrow morning we could run back into town and ask if we don't get any kind of clues tonight or anything like that. But I definitely want to keep an eye on the homestead first, because that's what the sheriff asked.
Yeah, it sounds good to me.
all right. In that case, let me know everything you would like to do, either together or just personally, to prepare for this stakeout. We have all of the other entrances kind of boarded up and blocked, except for this one window. Are there any other? You mentioned light sources behind you. Are you having, like, do you have like your lanterns?
Yeah, that's what I was going to look around and see if there was any sort of light sources in the house that we could put sort of in a semicircle around us in that one sitting room.
Sure.
Behind us, so it kind of backlights us, but so it doesn't block or obscure our vision of the darkness outside.
Yeah, you'd find a few lanterns or some candles, plenty of light sources in this home. So easy enough.
I also have 20 yards of rope. Could I set like a rope trap of some sort? Like one of those that, like, you step in the trap and it shoots up and dangles you by your ankle, like very comedic.
Snare trap.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a snare.
Yeah,
sure.
that one. That's the word.
I would probably have knowledge of making those from my my time out in the wilderness, like with my friends and stuff. I could definitely help you out with that and sort of get it going.
Yeah, where would you like to place it?
I can just give the rope to you if you want to do it.
Yeah, I think I would like to place it. I would like to go back to the edge of the woods where we saw sort of the trail of it coming out of, and place it somewhere around in there so that if we hear it, we could then go and investigate a little bit more. I don't know if judging by the size of the marks and things like that, it's going to be a pretty big animal. I don't know. I would have to figure out like the best way to snare it at this point.
Yeah, I mostly use this rope for other purposes.
I have no clue what that means. Jesse is so pure, he does not know what that means.
The Reverend knows, but it's been a mighty long time since firsthand. Also, is there a well, a water supply of any sort, natural or otherwise?
There is a small well on the property, yeah.
Are there any extra containers in the house that could be used to gather some water?
Sure.
Like a cooking pot or something?
Sure.
Yeah, there'd be a couple water pails, probably some cooking pots.
Wash basin.
I am going to gather some water while he's setting up, Jesse's setting up that snare as well, and I would like to take some time and bless the water.
Okay.
Just in case.
Sure.
Is there anything I need to roll for that, or?
No.
Okay, cool.
I'll say you're taking the time. It's not a
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a quick thing. As for the trap setting, I will have you make, I believe you have a survival skill of some sort. Yeah, I will have you make that check.
Okay. Four on my D4. Let's see if... Another 4.
Let's go.
Hell yeah.
Get a third one.
No, a 3. So 8, 11.
Okay. All right. So the trap is set. You feel pretty good about it. Are there any other preparations?
I am going to make sure all my guns are loaded and ready.
Yeah, I'll
Realizing
do that
I made this character for more interpersonal things than actually combat, so we love that.
That's
Got a wide variety of characters. It's all gonna be great.
that can be just as useful in time. So
Yeah.
I would like to do as Jesse does. That kind of sparks the gunslinger memory in me, and I'm gonna sit down. I haven't taken these apart in a while, so I'm gonna take them apart, clean them, make sure they're not malfunctioning, and that kind of thing too.
Perfect.
I probably lend him my gun oil and stuff because I am so meticulous about my stuff that I am like, I did this morning. Here you go. Take some time.
Yeah. All right. So as you're sitting here finishing up, cleaning up your guns, loading your guns, kind of just sitting and waiting with that just knot in your stomach, the sun begins to disappear behind the trees. It gets darker. The lanterns are lit. The candles are lit. This whole sitting area glows with this just orange glow from the firelight behind you. Are you sitting or standing as you're looking out this window?
I was gonna take a chair and sit sort of by the window, not like, so if they're looking in, I would be looking sort of across.
Is there any mirrors?
Yeah, there would be like a little more of like probably about this big, leaning in the bathroom.
Okay. I will take the butt of my gun and just kind of shatter the mirror, and then just take a piece of it, and just so I can stand on the other side of the window where he's not, and just kind of hold the mirror up and watch it.
Gotcha.
I was going to be standing kind of like catty-corner to the window, so like leaned back, like, foot propped against the wall kind of thing. But where I could look out of the window, but not, it would be harder to spot me coming. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
All right, so none of you are being seen if something were to look into this window.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm definitely trying to hide for sure.
Gotcha.
But still keep an eye out as well.
Okay. I'm gonna have everybody make a stealth check.
Oh, I love that for me. I don't love that for me. Hold on.
3 on 1d6, 6 on the not wild die.
Okay. So your 6 would...
That one still explodes?
Is it a d6?
Yes, 2 of
Then
them.
yeah, that one will explode. You can add to that one.
Oh, so that's a 7. And a 3.
I got 2 explosions so far on my D4. 9.
Nice.
Yeah, I got a 2 on my D4, but a 4 on my wild die, so...
4 on your wild die. Are you unskilled in stealth?
I have a 4 in it.
Okay, gotcha. So,
Yeah.
So
I mean, I have a
okay.
D4 in it. I have a D4
Okay,
in
gotcha,
it.
gotcha. So that is a pass for everyone. As you all stand here with the sun going down, quieting your breathing, and just waiting. You can hear your heartbeats in your ears as the unknown just begins making your imagination just go wild with what this could be, what you might see. I'll have all of you make a notice check.
Oh, shit. Okay.
I made a 4.
Got a 7.
I got a 5.
Okay.
I got a 5 on my notice die, but my wild die was a 1, so.
That's okay. As long as they're both not ones, then we're good.
Okay, cool.
All right, so as you sit and listen and glance out the window, it's not long before you start hearing the sound of twigs cracking and branches straining and creaking in various parts of the woods. You're unable to see anything yet, but you hear the sound of something sprinting through the woods. Doesn't seem to be getting closer, but you hear something running, and then it runs in the other direction. And you hear the slashing of claws against tree bark. You hear the grinding of antlers against trees.
Is it running? You said the sound's going away from us, or
It doesn't seem to be. It doesn't seem to be doing either. It's not moving away, and it's not coming closer. But it is back and forth, back and forth.
Sorry, I figured out what this is. Amber knows, but but Katrina doesn't. Oh shit, this is bad. Oh no, this is bad.
Maybe try to lure it here.
Judging by the sounds of going out there, I would probably say we're safer in here.
Yeah. We're safer in here. Trying not to metagame, but
Is there any is there like an ice box or some sort of cooler type situation? Is there anything like that where they've got to keep like cold storage items?
There would be one, but it would be like right out on the porch.
Oh. Well, when they cleaned up, did they leave back any traces of the blood, anything like that on one of the pieces of wood?
Yeah, they didn't do so much cleaning up as they did just picking up the bodies and any
They did
pieces.
body removal.
Yeah, pieces left behind. They didn't clean the wood or anything. The bloodstains are very much still there.
I want to try and take the shovel that I have and pry one of those floorboards up that's got the blood on it.
Okay.
And I'm going to try and throw it out the window into those woods to try to maybe see if it can pick up that scent or anything like that.
Okay, go ahead and make, we'll do a strength. All right, well, are you kind of aiming for a certain spot, or are you just trying to chuck it, like, as far as you can from the house?
I want it to be sort of within viewing distance, but not like right on top of us. Like
Okay, I'll say make an agility check.
Okay.
So it's less about trying to get it farther and...
Pretty good at those. Oops. That is an 8 on the D8 and a 5 on my D6.
Okay.
So a 9.
All right. Yeah, so you pry this up without much issue. It takes you a couple tries. Chuck it into the woods. You hear the piece of wood clatter down, and as that piece of wood slams into the woods around you, the sprinting footsteps stop, and the woods fall silent.
I just ready my pistols just in case, and I sit back.
And that's when you begin to hear slower footsteps, crunching, closer, 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 you hear the sound of one of the antlers scrape against the side of a tree as you watch these long legs step down, followed by these long, thin arms with claws that kind of slam down into the ground as it's coming closer to inspect this piece of wood. You see like a skeletal, almost like deer-like skull with antlers coming up off of it, scraping into the trees. I need all three of you to make a fear check, which is going to be your spirit die.
Okay.
A 6 and a 2.
Where did my D8 go? There it is.
8.
4 and a 3. Sorry, 4 on my wild die.
Okay.
Okay. So I passed this. I got a 2 on my spirit die, but a 5 on my wild die. I have guts. I could re-roll that, but
Your 5 is a success, so you don't have to re-roll if...
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. But I'm not gonna.
What was yours, Jesse?
I had a 4 on my wild die.
Okay, that's a success. Reverend?
8 total.
8. All right, so all of you feel this almost humidity kind of sweep through, but it's not humidity, it's fear trying to just grip the inside of your soul. And as it pushes through, all of you are able to kind of swallow it down and not be immediately affected by this thing, but you see it's hunched over and it's looking at this wood, and it kind of moves its head down, and you hear this as if it's kind of sniffing this thing. It's got fur and long claws and just a skeletal head, long, and as it looks up, its completely empty eyes look towards this house, and it's looking in, and it seems to only be able to see the flickering of the light on the inside, and it takes a step closer and another step closer. What are you doing?
Do we want to kill this thing?
I think we do. I sure don't want it to get closer.
You pretty good on that rifle?
No, I take my Colt Dragoon and I like cock it and like get it ready, and I'm like, let's go.
Seeing this gun suddenly materialize in Katrina's hands, the Reverend takes a step and kind of gives her kind of a side glare, knowing glance, and then just a nod of resolution.
Jesse wants to, looking at the anatomy of this animal that we don't know what it is, does Jesse know where he would shoot it?
Make a survival check.
Oh no. Double ones.
Double
No.
ones. You have no fucking idea.
Okay.
You're looking at this thing and this doesn't make sense. This creature
Okay.
doesn't make sense.
No discernible anatomy. It doesn't even have eyes.
And as this thing is stalking closer to you, you begin to hear a sound.
Does it sound like it's coming from the creature, or does it sound like it's just coming from everywhere around us?
It seems to be emitting from this creature somehow.
Try to counteract it. Under my breath, I start muttering the Lord's Prayer over and over and over.
Okay.
I'm going to
Alright.
join in because I don't know what's going on, but if he's praying, I would know the words, and I'm going to pray with him.
All right.
Given that my best friend was the Reverend's daughter, I'm also muttering the Lord's Prayer.
And I'm slowly raising my 6-shooters, and then I'm just going to start unloading.
Oh, right. Okay, let's go ahead, and it does not know you're there, so I'm gonna let all of you guys have just a free action here before we deal any action cards. So, Reverend, you are just firing off. What are the other two doing?
I fully have like shivers down my spine because of like the noise and the headphones. I'm like, oh no.
I've got people bumps. They went straight past goosebumps because I'm not a goose. I'm a people, so I have people bumps.
I think I'm gonna start with my cult, and I'm gonna join the Reverend while saying prayers and shooting with my cult.
I don't want to get caught in any crossfire or potentially hurt anybody here, so I'm gonna withhold my fire for right now.
Okay. You're still praying.
Yeah, I'm just praying. I'm just praying.
I imagine, and tell me if I'm wrong, you started whispering these prayers, and then as you started firing them off, the praying's getting louder and louder to try to hear yourselves over the sound of your own gunfire.
And over the sound of this drowning, this noise that is coming off this creature. Like, I'm trying to drown that out.
Like, it seems to be coming from it, but also is being, like, placed in your heads, and there's just this unsettling. You just turn and show yourselves and just start firing. The two of you shooting, I'm just gonna have you roll a shooting roll for me.
So that's our shooting plus the wild die?
Correct. Take the higher.
Ooh, that's an 8 on my D8. It's an 11. I had a 1 on the wild die, though.
I had, on my shooting die, I had a 6, and it exploded for another 4, so I got a 10.
Okay, so as this thing is stalking in your direction, you hear the sound filling your ears, and as you turn and show yourselves and just immediately start firing, you see the bullets just impacting into this thing. You see it slamming into its chest, and it's taking the bullets, it's slamming into him, and then you see its head kind of look up, cock, and as it sees you, the sounds get louder and louder and louder, and then it turns around and sprints in the other direction. And the other direction, and the sound fades.
I quickly empty the used shells and start reloading.
I'm going to do the same with my my peacemaker.
All right. Reload. You hear the shells clatter against the wood floor of the house.
Now that I've seen this thing, is this something that I would have seen like out in or heard whispers of out in my travels through the West?
Definitely wouldn't have seen, but make a common knowledge roll. Or no, I'll let you do common knowledge. I don't think any of you have a cult, but if you have a cult, I'll let you roll that as well.
No,
I have knowledge religion.
It wouldn't really be religion.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, I'll do common knowledge.
Okay.
Oh, hell yeah. Okay, so I get to roll that 4 again. Okay, dope. So I rolled a 4 on my common knowledge D4, and then that exploded to 3. So
Okay.
7 exploded to
Perfect.
7, and then a 4 on my wild eye.
Okay. You have heard of legends out north, of some sort of creature that survives by eating the hearts of other people. And as you're thinking this, you just go cold for a moment, as why would you have put that together before? You know, like the hearts was ripped out of your best friend, and it's not occurring to you that this legend might be true until now, seeing this thing in front of you. You might know what this is, but you've heard a lot of legends and lore, and who knows what's true and what's made up to scare you, but the name's the same. You're pretty sure this thing is a Wendigo.
Yep.
Reverend, not knowing any of that, looks out and says, "Revelation is upon us. Demons walk the earth."
This thing isn't supposed to be this far south. This is supposed to stay up near Canada. Reverend, I got bad news. This is bad. This is the worst kind of news we could have possibly gotten. This thing is called a Wendigo.
Who's it? What now?
It's a cannibalist spirit. It's meant to overtake the bodies of men, make them do unspeakable horrors. We gotta take this thing out and quick, because if there's one Wendigo, there's gotta be others.
I know next to nothing about a Wendigo. Is that what you said?
Wendigo.
Do they hunt in packs? Do they eat children? Like, do they have any weaknesses? Obviously, bullets don't work. I need something to kill this thing with.
I just know that they eat the hearts of others, and they can inspire others. They possess others to cannibalize.
We should go find the sheriff and his men right now.
Yeah, if there's one around here, I mean, that's bad news. They could be infecting people in the town, or possessing people in the town.
Canteens, quick, give me your canteens.
Yeah.
And
I'm
mine.
gonna dump all the canteens out and fill them up with the water that I blessed earlier.
Okay. Smart.
And I hand each of you one. I don't know if this will help. It's holy water. I don't know if that means anything to you people, but let's go. And I'll start running outside to jump on whatever horse I rode in on.
Can I dump, put some of my bullets in the holy water just to see if I can, get those blessed a little bit too? Okay, yeah,
Sure.
do that.
Stop. See that? Yeah, let's do that. Start dumping all my bullets into what's left of the holy water I wasn't able to use, and start shaking it around. I'm willing to try anything for this Wendigo or whatever. Let's do what we need to do.
Yeah.
All right, so you soak your bullets in some holy water, reload your guns, pack up, and you head out to your horses. Hop on. You start. Here's my question: are you taking the road and going all the way around, or are you riding through these woods?
No, we need to take the road.
We need to keep.
Yeah, I would think we'd take the road as well.
All right.
I'm not going towards. Judging from what I just saw, Jesse is
right.
We are not going that way.
We are not going that way.
That creature is beyond us.
All right, so you take off, heading down the road as fast as you can. The horses are huffing. You hear the hooves slamming into the dirt as you're going by. It takes a good few minutes. The horses are exhausted as you make it around and start heading up the street, or heading up the road towards pretty close to the location where you had all met up a year ago. And you kind of have these just horrible flashes in your mind when you blink of the scene that you pulled up on before and the people that you found dead here. And as you continue riding, you see coming up pretty quickly as you've gained speed, getting closer to the area, you see something laying across the road, unmoving.
Oh, I'll pull the reins of my horse.
Yeah, pull back, the horse skids. Dust kind of flies up.
I hold up to when I see him pull up.
I'll hop off my horse, quick draw my 2 6-shooters, and approach cautiously. I do have danger sense as an edge as well.
Okay.
I don't know how that plays into anything, but I do have that. So
I take out my Colt and at least lay cover on him.
Are you still on your horse?
Yeah, I'm on my
Okay.
horse, but as he hops off and pulls out his guns, I pull out my gun to cover him as he's
Perfect.
walking toward it.
Same. Absolutely
Okay.
same.
All right. The horses are huffing and breathing heavily and kind of shaking their heads as you're standing there. Reverend, you begin walking closer. It doesn't take you long to see what is laying in the road, and you see a horse laying down, chest ripped open, blood spattered out onto the dirt. This is the deputy's horse. And
looking around, any sign of the deputy's body or anything?
as you're looking around, you see that the blood spatter that came from the horse, you see it streaked out in a different direction. And not far from here, you see the deputy who had tried to crawl away from this scene. One leg ripped off, nowhere in sight. You see him flipped over, chest sprawled open, eyes wide in terror.
Keep your eyes peeled. The deputy's dead, and so is his horse. And I'm gonna holster one of my guns, but not both of them. And with my dominant, actually I'm ambidextrous. So with my right hand though, I'm gonna start kind of patting over the body, see if there's anything left. Did the creature take anything off them besides the body parts? Is there anything of use that we could potentially use going forward that the deputy maybe have left behind?
Searching his body, there's nothing that seems out of place on him that you wouldn't find on a deputy. His gun is still there as well, not even drawn.
I'll take that and kind of pocket it, and
Okay.
just in case for later, and any
Okay.
extra ammunition he's got as well.
Sure. Other than that, he seemed to have some sort of whistle clutched in his hand, with blood all over it.
And I'll take that as well, and I'll take my handkerchief out and kind of like wrap it up. That seems to be probably more of a personal item that we recognize by the sheriff if we run into him. Speaking of, is the sheriff visible anywhere? Anybody else besides just this one deputy and his horse?
Make a notice check.
Oh, that was cocked. 4 on the D4, 1 on the D6, 6 for a total of 6.
Okay. As you're looking around, you're in very, very, very dark atmosphere right now. You don't have.
Lanterns.
You rode.
Right,
You rode quick. You didn't bring lanterns.
We didn't grab light. I thought about that just
no.
a second ago.
You have the moonlight above you, so you're making out these scenes. The closer that you are to them, you're able to see each other as long as you stay in this sort of open road. As you glance off to try to look around, you do see a boot, kind of sticking out of the shadows, off on the ditch.
Actually, can I go back to my common knowledge roll? Would I know how to kill this thing off of my knowledge roll?
You would just know of the legend. It doesn't really say how to kill one. You would know that up north there was this man named Jack Fiddler who has slain like 14 Wendigos in his time, and there's a huge story there, but it doesn't really say how.
Okay. Yeah, just because I know doesn't mean this character knows. So I just wanted to be clear before I rattled off information I don't have. So.
Right. Yeah, you would not know how to kill a Wendigo.
Okay.
Is there anything distinguishing about the boot that would lead me to believe it is the sheriff's boot? That is, or does it look like it matches the one on the one good leg of the deputy here?
It could match the leg. It's a little dark. It's kind of far.
Okay. There's another boot in the distance. It could be the deputy's, or it could be the sheriff's. What do you think? Do you think we should ride back to town or continue?
I'm thinking we need to know more about this Wendigo crap.
Right. I mean, this thing is scary. It's not easy to take down. I know that for sure.
Well, I do know that we don't want to hunt this creature in his turf with no light to be seen.
Oh, hell no. Hell no.
I think we should head back to town and call a town meeting at the chapel and see if anybody knows anything about Wendigos. If nothing else, get them all to hole up for the night. Make sure everybody's safe.
Is that what you'd like to do?
That's my suggestion. It's up to you guys.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Let's get back to town.
All
Then
right.
taking that whistle that I found, I'm gonna use my handkerchief to completely clean it, and then we'll ride back into town. And as we're riding into town, I'm gonna start blowing that whistle. At the second we start seeing any kind of civilization, And if one of y'all can just shout out to the church or something to get people's attention.
Jesse
Yeah.
will do that.
Oh, I'll help with that too. I also have like bonus in performance, and persuasion. So, yeah, I can definitely do that.
All right. So you mount your horse once again and haul ass back towards town. And as you're getting closer, you just start blowing that whistle. For the other two of you, I'll let you do a roll of your choice, whatever you're more focused on, being louder, more of a performance, or if you're trying to seem sincere, saying, please come to the church.
I think I'll probably use my sincerity, so that's probably persuasion.
Yeah.
The church that I built, or people helped me build when I came into town, does it have a bell, a chapel bell?
I guess I'll leave that up to you. That was your creation. If that is
Okay.
what you wanted to include, absolutely.
Yeah, so I will call back over my shoulder as we're riding through. I'm gonna ride on ahead, start ringing the bells, keep getting people's attention, and I will keep blowing my whistle as I speed up and keep on riding towards the church to start ringing the church bells.
All right.
Okay. Yeah, I'm also going to use that more sincere approach. Yeah.
I rolled a 2.
Yikes.
Do you want to spend a Benny to roll that again?
Yeah, I think so.
All right.
And I roll both of them again?
Yeah.
Okay. I got the same.
Oh no.
Okay. All right. So I rolled a 4 on. I rolled a 4 on my persuasion die, but I exploded on my wild die, so that's a 9, and then +1, so 10. I have a +1.
Okay. All right. So yeah, neither of you are worried about getting anyone's attention. The whistle is doing that, and the church bells are doing that. You're just, as they're coming out and looking for answers, you've got the sincerity in your face. Please get to the church, get to the church. And within probably a half an hour time span or so, you've got the majority of this town in the church, tired, in their sleeping clothes, asking what's going on. And the three of you, helmless, you kind of stand at a more comfortable place for the Reverend, and you look out at this crowd that is scared and confused. One of them says, "What the hell's going on?"
May I, Reverend?
Absolutely. You know more about this than I do.
Thank you. I do not stand at the pulpit or on the pulpit itself, just because I do not feel like that's my place and I do not want to touch it. But I stand like right in front of it, and I'm just like, I'm also just going to use persuasion too if that becomes a roll. But yeah, I'm just going to be like, y'all, I know you have every reason to distrust me. I ran out on this town a year ago after what happened. But listen, I know we figured out what killed those people a year ago, and we know what killed those people last night. I think we've come across a Wendigo. And I pause to see if anyone has any recognition.
You see some people seem to not recognize the word whatsoever, and the people that do kind of chuckle and exchange some glances to each other, sort of like are you kidding me?
Hear me out. I know this sounds like complete and utter bullshit. And you know what? If you had come to me a week ago and told me this, yeah, but I mean, seeing the way that the hearts were clawed out of these people, seeing the utter ice cold stare of this thing coming towards us in the cabin, I am completely 100% convinced that this is Wendigo. It's not supposed to be this far south. They're not supposed to be this far south, I know, but I'm scared for all of y'all. This place has been my home.
You're kind of interrupted at this point, and someone says, "This true, Reverend?"
Miss Katrina speaks truth with every word. The young Mr. Jesse and I, we witnessed the same creature tonight. We unloaded at least 18 shots into it with our very own firearms, and it didn't so much as hiccup. It turned and ran the other way. And I tell you, I'm sad to be the one to bring the news that our young deputy has fallen, and perhaps the sheriff as well. We're unsure. We could not locate his body.
You hear gasps at this point and more whispers as everybody starts talking amongst themselves. And then one woman stands up, quite old and with just this grumpy expression, and you're kind of bronzed, weathered skin, spotted with sunspots in certain places. But her eyes are kind as she looks up to you and she says, "Are you sure?"
I will describe the creature. Large antlers that it scrapes on the trees as it passes, claws that rakes, and it doesn't determine what type of material it's raking. Eyes vacant, soulless, dark.
And the noises?
Oh, the noises came. For sure. In your head.
Like the
around you.
low
Like it's...
rumblings of a satanic cult.
Most of the citizens have fallen silent at this point, kind of looking at the dynamic between the three of you and this old woman. And she says, "Some say it howls, and some say it growls, but it does much, much worse than that." And she kind of looks off to the crowd now instead of you. And you feel the hairs stand up on your neck and your arms as you just remember the sound. Its curse causes a need for human flesh, it's true. The heart, if it can. Eating the heart of another through the harsh winters gets them through. And it's also said they only flee from the north if they're chased or if they're threatened. The stories, I'm sure you've heard them, they speak of Jack Fiddler, and he claims to have killed 14 Wendigos in his prime, but I say he only slaughtered people, using that as a good reason as to why, preying on the superstitious and things they do not understand. A Wendigo is powerful. It cannot be slain by guns or knives. Not outright, that is. What many of the legends don't tell you is that you need something. You need tallow. At this point, some people are... This is clearly the crazy woman of the town, and some people are losing interest in listening to her. So she turns back.
Excuse me, ma'am. Seeing that, there is a lady present speaking, and she is sharing relevant information that may save your life. Perhaps you listen to what she has to say and heed her words. She knows more about this than I, and I'm sure any of you. And I'll step back. I apologize, ma'am. From sleepy eyes in the audience.
Yeah, everybody falls silent again, and almost afraid to speak now after you spoke up against them. A Wendigo can only be killed once it is weakened. It must be weakened by tallow. It's a special mix and a consistency like a wax. It must be kept hot, and it must be poured down its throat. Only then...
Well, I don't think he's...
Only then will your weapons harm this creature. And even then, if silver does not pierce its heart, it will get back up. I can make you this tallow. if you feel your souls are brave enough for the task.
I'll go after the creature.
I'll join you.
Third that.
You hear a voice in the doorway say, "Forth!" And you look over and you see the sheriff, completely covered in blood on one side of his body. His arm looks like it had been scratched down and mostly mangled. He's got it kind of tied up in a bit of a sling, and he's missing one ear entirely. And as he looks out at all of you, the crowd looks back and they gasp, and panic begins to ensue as they're realizing these aren't just stories. These aren't just stories that you're telling them. And people begin to get up and they begin to rush, and they all kind of push past the sheriff. They begin going back to their homes. Make a persuasion check. Or intimidation, I guess. Is there that in this game?
Yeah, there is intimidation.
I'm gonna stick with persuasion. I'm trained in that, and it's gonna
Okay.
be more like less like a growly hold and more like a pleading.
Okay,
Like,
Can
stay
I
with
use-
us.
Can I use my persuasion? I mean, my intimidation to help him?
sure. What do you?
Y'all shut the fuck up. Like,
Nice.
just,
All right. Yeah. Go ahead.
You know, we've got the angel and the devil here.
Absolutely. Go ahead and make your rolls.
Again, a side eye out of the the corner of his eye. He just kind of glances over and tips his hat at you with a sort of a judgmental smile. Not like you're gonna burn in hell judgmental smile, but just sort of a tisk young lady kind of
Yeah.
I'm a
naughty.
different girl than you been new. Oh. Oh, wait, no. Okay. I got a 6 on my intimidation die.
I got a 4 and a 2 on my 2d6s.
All right. So a 4 is what you would need to pass. So, everybody's moving around, pushing past each other, trying to push past the sheriff. A couple people make it outside, and then the Reverend's voice booms, not in an angry way, but just in a loud, carrying boom. Hold! And then you hear Katrina shout, "Just shut the fuck up!" And everybody kind of turns and looks. Everybody's frozen, either in shock of the Reverend's booming voice, or in shock of this sweet girl that they knew just shouting. And they turn and they look at the rest of you. It falls silent enough that you hear the sheriff's blood drip on the wood of the floor, just 3 little drips before he looks to this woman and he says, "Can you have it ready by tomorrow night?" And she nods to him. And there's this moment of just absolute silence before she begins shuffling and heading towards the door to leave and begin preparing this for you. Everybody else is just standing there, afraid to move.
Panic is the enemy of good sense. If you rush out of here tonight and not listen to the words and the warnings, you will be hurt at best. Keep yourselves calm. You should convene. This is probably the largest building in the town. I open its doors to you to look after one another, to protect one another while we are gone. If you have weapons and know how to use them, arm yourselves. If you don't, get with someone who does, that can teach you. They may not kill it, but they do slow it down. It'll be something. I look around the room. Is the child that I gave my handcuffs to nearby?
Yes. Him and his mother are kind of over in one of the corners, and he looks scared all over again, and she's just kind of got her arms around him.
I'm gonna go, I'll leave the room for just a second, go back into my personal domicile and just cut a piece of that crumble cake I'd mentioned, and walk over
Okay.
to him. I believe I made you a promise. and your words were accurate and true. You saw what you saw. But I need those handcuffs now if you'll trade me. And I'll hold out the piece of cake.
As you hold out the cake, the mother for a moment is like, we'll have to go home, and then the boy just pulls the handcuffs out of from tucked under his shirt, like hiding, and she just kind of looks at him like, I told you to put those away 7 times. He holds them out to you, and he takes the cake, and his hands are kind of shaking a little bit as he takes it, and he sits down. And
now there is a whole half of a cake in my quarters back there, and it's all yours. You go rest up. These people are going to help protect you. He
looks up at his mom, and she just nods at him, and he gets up and starts.
I'll hand her the key to the living quarters. Make sure he gets some rest.
Thank you. And she takes it, and good luck.
I'm gonna look her in the eye. Do you know how to use a weapon?
No. I mean, I have a knife.
Keep it to yourself. Make sure it's nearby. I look around the room. Does anybody around look like they're arming up or already armed or
Oh, absolutely. You see people, guns had strapped over from the... You guys didn't come in a calm manner. You came in, you flew in, blowing the whistle, shouting, you've probably got blood on your hands, like... Shit was going down, and they could see that. A few of them do have their weapons, if not, like, their belt on them, they have them in their hands, and you see them making sure they're loaded, and a few people you see going out in groups to go grab weapons from their homes.
I grab the biggest, most able-bodied man, woman, or whatever there that looks like they could hold their own with a weapon, and I'll grab them by the collar, bring them over to where the woman and child are. You are to stay with them at all times. You will protect them. And I send him that way with them.
All right, yeah, they nobody is questioning you at this point in time. All right, so with that, you have the majority of the town. The people that didn't come in for the meeting are collected and brought into this church. Weapons are brought in. Everyone is inside of this church, and once the doors close, the sheriff, having wrapped up his arm a little bit better, is now an arm down. He cannot use that arm, but he's got his gun holstered on his right side, ready to go. And after a couple of hours, this woman has a vial of tallow ready for each of you.
Can I spend 2 bennies to ensure that someone in our party and somebody in the church have silver weapons?
I will let you do that. Yes.
Cool.
What kind of silver weapon would you like?
I think there's some those candlesticks up there on the altar. They're made of silver. We could probably melt those down and either silver a blade or maybe coat some bullets with it or something.
I think if we can get some silver bullets and also a silver blade, that would be most helpful. I believe our elder woman mentioned that we needed silver weapons.
All right. For spending those 2 bennies, I'll allow... I'll have each of you roll 1d6.
Okay.
No wild die, just your 1d6.
Okay.
Five.
What do we...
Oh, 5.
Okay, so that
And a
is how
4.
many silver bullets you acquire.
Oh, dope.
Good rolls. And between those, I'll let you choose if you give any of those to the people inside the church. The people in the church are going to have a blade if you do not give any of those bullets to them.
I almost feel like the Reverend needs the blade because I'm this is just like purely from a role-playing perspective. I'm like, holy shit, how good would it be that you get to like stab this thing in the heart that killed your daughter?
I would love that, but I am terrible with them. We might want to part with that with Mr. Jesse. He already looks like he carries one anyway. I think he'd be
I
a
do
little
carry
better
knives,
suited.
yeah.
Beautiful.
And I will leave my 4 silver bullets specifically with the person that I told to watch the mother and the child.
Okay.
So I'm going to give, since I have the silver blade, I am going to give my 5 bullets to somebody in the congregation as well.
Okay.
I'm gonna keep my bullets.
All right, and you have 5, correct? Okay. Wonderful.
And then like at least 5 of those coated in holy water from earlier. But I don't know
Yeah.
if that does anything.
Yeah, that you're unsure. All right, so we have 5 silver bullets and a blade, and the rest is being left with the church, correct?
Correct.
All right, so this woman.
I will also really quick point out just some extra lumber supplies that are kind of next to the church for repairs and things for them to fortify the church with.
Okay.
Barricade themselves in, that kind of
Yeah,
thing.
and they will get started on that. The tallow that is given to you. It is a waxy substance. It's melted as it's given to you in these glass vials, because it's still very, very hot to the touch. You have to like wrap a rag around it to carry it. Just after 5 minutes of it being off of a heating source, it begins to harden. And she stresses to you, this has to be hot to take effect. You've got to get this inside of the Wendigo's body, down its throat, into it, whatever you can do. This tallow is the only thing that can weaken it. And she gives the 3 of you and the sheriff 1 vial of tallow.
Are there any candles burning?
Yeah.
Is there a way that I could like set up the vial like above that heat to keep that?
Sure, I will ask. Are we staying here? Are we heading to a different location? Where are we hunting this thing, I guess, is what I'm asking.
Well, he had mentioned something by the next night. So are we waiting to go to the next night, or are we going to go tonight and try to find it since we already have the tallow now?
With that is entirely up to you. You probably have maybe 4 hours of the night left at this point. You can go now, or you can wait till the next night to have more time. That is entirely your decision.
The longer this thing roams the forest, the more likely it is it's going to kill somebody else, he says, and kind of drops his head.
I feel like we should go now. Sooner the better.
Sheriff, can you ride?
He kind of looks down at his arm. He says, "Don't you worry about me."
Looking at the wound, does it look like it's infected? Does it look like it's still bleeding through? Anything I can notice with a healing check or anything like that might be a prolonged problem?
Just by looking at it, you can see it's wrapped pretty extensively, and it is bleeding through. Yeah, his ear is complete. It's not bleeding down his face anymore. It's just scat. There's no ear there anymore, for sure. But it doesn't appear to be like he's gonna bleed out from it or anything.
I'll pull out the deputy's gun. I managed to recover this from our deputy. I don't know if you perhaps want it back.
He reaches out and he grabs onto it, and he pushes the chamber to the side to see all 6 bullets are left.
I'll just shake my head as he's checking to see if it's loaded.
Puts it back and kind of tucks it in his belt. Let's go kill this fucking thing.
That's the most beautiful thing you've said all day.
Well, it's not the words I would use, but yeah, let's do that.
Let's do that. Alright, so you guys mount your horses. Where are you heading?
We should ask the sheriff where he encountered his.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As you're just beginning to ride out, he tells you, we were just patrolling the road there, just where we were before, and it came out of it. We hardly even had a chance to see it. It came out and it slammed into the Deputy Briggs' horse and knocked him down. The deputy went flying, and everybody. We couldn't do anything. A few people rode off into the woods. I haven't seen them. I don't know where they are. I rode off in another direction. By the time I came to my senses and came back, the deputy and the horse were. And then it came for me, and he just kind of zones out there.
Listening to him talk, does he seem like himself? Even if he's traumatized, does he still seem like the sheriff, or is there anything that seems off or different about him?
I'll say
Good question.
Make a spirit check.
It is a 5 and a 2.
Okay. He seems. I mean, he definitely doesn't seem like the sheriff you see every day. He seems really shaken. He's a little pale. He definitely seems like he's talking through clenched teeth from the pain. He seems a little distanced.
Hey, Sheriff, I got a question. You feeling hungry at all?
He kind of looks down for a moment, looks up to you, and says, "How could you be thinking of food at a time like this?"
Fear makes the stomach feel like a pit.
Yeah, I guess you ain't wrong. Did lose my breakfast this morning.
Understandable. Just wanted to make sure.
If you want to go wrestle a kid for it, there's some crumble cake in my living quarters, but you're gonna have to wrestle him for it because I told him it was his.
He chuckles and then winces. You imagine he probably has a couple broken ribs on that side, and as you guys ride out further, you see the moon just making its way further across the sky as you're losing the darkness of light. Are we bringing light?
Yes.
Yes.
We are not making that mistake again.
No.
So I imagine we're probably going at a slower pace, and you have some sort of lantern. I imagine you're bringing candles with you for your idea to heat up that tallow. All right, so you get to the spot where the horse is in the road, and the sheriff kind of points off to the right, and he says, I was in the woods that direction. What do we want to do?
Thing seems to be drawn to blood. I was able to lure it in earlier with a piece of wood that was left behind with that family's blood on it. It came to it like a young farmer to a dinner bell. It came right to it.
The sheriff looks at his arm.
No, I'm not insinuating anything of the like. Now, don't get no ideas. I was just making a statement that we do know that it does draw its attention. I could never put any of you up as bait. That would be, well, undesirable. Let's leave it at that.
No offense or anything, but the way I see it, Reverend, I don't have much of a stake left in this fight.
I'm going to give the sheriff my tallow. If it gets close to you, I want you to have two chances to get it down its throat.
He nods and takes it. Let's see. He is going to trade that tallow for his 3 silver bullets that he has. He's going to hand those over to you.
I'm going to put those directly into my peacemaker right now.
Okay. And it is at this point, are you heating up the tallow? Like, have you stopped and have put the tallow on?
It only stays liquefied for about 5 minutes after it's heated, right?
Correct.
How long does it take to heat it?
Not long. A couple minutes, as long as it's decently close to a flame. You're muted still. Yeah.
I need to pick one way to mute myself and stick with it. So could I have ostensibly kept it warmish somewhere on my body?
That, or you were carrying a lantern.
Okay.
I mean, it wouldn't keep it
not fluid,
liquid,
but like,
yeah, but it would keep it warm enough to where it would heat up pretty quickly, probably.
Okay. Yeah, I will put it in my pocket. And that's where I will keep it until I pull out the candle to relight it.
Okay.
Its wrist earlier when we did get a good look at it, did it look like maybe my handcuffs would fit over its wrist? I know it's not going to hold it long, but
It was moving pretty quick. It would be hard to tell until you were right up on this thing. It didn't get quite close enough.
well, do we want to try to draw it to us?
You hear some cracking of twigs and branches.
I think it's time to start eating some tallow.
Immediately quick draw into whatever direction I heard that come from.
All right. How are we heating this tallow?
We could hold them in the lantern, can't we?
Yeah.
Hold the vials over the lantern. Yeah, so I'll I don't have a lantern on me, so I will hand mine off to Miss Katrina because I know she has one. So I'll hand it to her, just slowly, still keeping my guns trained everywhere I heard the sound, or at least one of them will like gather it and hand it to her.
Yeah, I'll like.
And then I'll go back and keep.
All right. As you're beginning to heat up this tallow, you hear this sprinting rush past. It seems to actually rush past behind you. You hear it slamming through the woods, and then you hear the feet on the dirt road behind you. And as you spin around to look, you see this figure disappearing into the woods behind you as well, and you hear the footsteps crunching before it falls silent to hide once again.
Circle up, backs to each other.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and the tallow is nearly hot enough. All the vials will stay pretty warm. It's going to be hot to the touch, though. Keep that in mind. You all do have the rags that were given to you with the vial initially. And as you're kind of putting your backs to each other, and as the sound vibrates the inside of your eardrums, I'm going to have all of you make another fear roll for me.
I think I'm spending a Benny on this one. So I got a 3 and a 1. I'm spending another Benny.
All right.
I got a 4 and a 2.
Ooh, I'm gonna.
Unusually good luck, knock on wood, because I'm gonna ruin it if I say that.
I just got an 8 on my
Alright.
second roll.
Okay, that's better. I got a 5. Yeah, I got a 5 on my wild die, a 2 on my fear die, but yeah, thanks, Guts.
Okay.
Appreciate you.
Thanks, Guts. Yeah. Alright, so as this sound fills your minds once again, you feel that just almost like force field of fear push past you, but you're prepared. You're ready. You're as ready as you're gonna be, and you have a church full of townsfolk to protect. And as this thing's antlers kind of come out from behind one of the trees, you hear it scrape against one of them as it's moving. You see its head kind of turn and cock as it's looking at you. It puts one long arm out and claws against one of the trees and just digs in, and you see bark falling. And it looks out at all of you, and it goes... and it looks directly towards where we are heating up this tallow. It knows what this is. Now we're gonna deal our first set of action cards. Shuffle them up real quick.
Ooh, new stuff.
Alright.
Look, I'm actually like, I don't know if you see, I'm actually shaking right now. Like, I'm so nervous.
I got the heebie-jeebies when she was like, "You've got this chills on the neck." I actually had heebie-jeebies. I was
Right.
like, "Oh boy."
I'm like fully bracing myself and looking at soft floral things to distract myself.
Alright, so action card number 1. This is for the Reverend.
Okay.
Jesse.
Oh, okay.
Katrina.
Okay.
Is there a certain time we have to spend a Benny?
You can just tell me before we get started.
Okay.
The Wendigo is gonna spend a Benny.
Can I spend 2 bennies, one for Katrina and one for Jesse to get them a redraw?
Oh,
Wait,
Angel.
I still have 2 bennies left too.
If you would like to do that, I will let you.
I will do that.
Oh my
Here's
gosh.
the Wendigos, not much better. Put him over here. Maybe. Oh no. Alright, so are you spending yours for...
I am. I'm spending 2, one for Katrina and one for Jesse to get better get better draws, hopefully.
Alright.
Oh God, it just hit me again. Oh shit.
Here is Jesse's.
Ooh.
Wait, does that count as like a 1 or?
That's highest card.
Okay, great.
Ooh.
All right, I'll take it.
All right, that's better shape than we were.
Yeah.
Benny's well spent. I'll take it.
So, that being said, I believe Jesse is up first.
He does not have the tallow yet, right? He does not. He's not.
It is warm, and it is probably, like, it's probably where you guys were going back to back.
Okay.
So it is, I mean, it's in range of you for sure.
Range of me. But it's not opened its mouth or anything like that. We'd have to provoke it.
Correct, and it is still off the road, behind a tree, looking out at you. It appears to be moving in your direction.
Okay. I'm gonna shout at it and get its attention, and then fire my Colt at it once.
All right. Go ahead and make your shooting roll.
Ooh, my shooting die exploded
Nice.
for 11.
Damn.
11.
Yeah.
All right. So this bullet slams into the chest of this thing, almost dead center, slams into it, and you hear this sizzling as the silver kind of burns up into its fur, and its head kind of moves down. It looks down, realizing what it was shot with, and it looks up, and its head cocks towards you, and it is entirely fixed on you right now.
Okay, so I'm drawing its attention. I think that's all I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna make sure that it knows that we're here and we're ready for him.
All right, are you all staying close together, or are you kind of drawing its attention away, or are you just trying to get it to come closer to you?
I'm trying to get it come closer to us so that we can get that tallow.
Okay, perfect. I am realizing right now I did not draw for the sheriff. Ooh. So here is the sheriff's card. We'll take it. He's not feeling too hot, you know?
No.
Alright, so that is Jesse's turn. Katrina, you are up.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just gonna shoot one of these silver bullets toward its... I almost called it a noodle. I'm sorry. Toward its head.
Alright, perfect. So...
I'm gonna shoot it in this douche canoe. It calls a face.
Alright, so in Deadlands, if you're making a called shot, like if you're just trying to hit it, that's one thing. If you're making a called shot, you'll have a -2 penalty.
Can I just use a Benny to auto hit?
I'll let you use a Benny to roll without the penalty.
Okay, yeah, that works.
Alright.
Yeah. Like you said, I only have 4, so I'm gonna fucking use them. Yeah, so, alright, so I will do that. So, I just roll damage?
You're gonna roll, your shooting.
Okay, shooting.
Which is your D6 with your wild die as well.
Okay, great. Okay, great, I made it. Okay, great, so that's a 4.
Perfect, yes. Alright, so slams into its head. You see a part of the skull impacted, and it actually cracks, like up the side of its head. The bullet flies out the other direction, and you actually hear it slam into a tree and just impact. The silver itself makes the skull steam kind of up out of the hole, and it shakes its head, and you hear this screeching coming from it. And its focus moves now from Jesse to Katrina. Alright. Now, I can't really see these very well. Who's next? Is it the Reverend?
I believe it's the Wendigo.
Ooh, alright, yeah, I see.
Well,
It's either me or him. We both got 7s.
I thought you got a 6.
No, I got a 7 of spades. He got a 7 of hearts, and the sheriff got a 6 of hearts.
Oh, okay.
So I believe you go first.
I go first?
Yeah.
All right. Is it directly in front of me? Are we kind of still back to back? Are we kind of spinning around to make these shots? I mean, how are we doing that exactly?
You guys are still back to back. I'll say you're more turned towards the creature at this point now, knowing what direction it's actually coming from. You'd probably be more of like a semicircle sort of thing happening right now.
Okay. I'm going to I don't know. Is it a free? It's a free action for me to draw weapons. Is it also a free action for me to put a stow weapon?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna free action stow my gun and draw the canteen that I have with holy water in it, and I'm gonna kind of fling it at him like it's like a bottle of like alcohol or something. And I'm gonna shoot the bottle to try to spray the creature with the holy water.
Okay. Awesome. Make I'll say just make your shooting check with that. I'll say you fling it just fine, and now you're gonna make your shooting roll.
That's a 4 on the D6, 3 on the D8.
Okay. So I will say this is a called shot,
Okay.
which would bring it at a -2. I will let you spend a penny to ignore that -2
Yeah, I will
and
do
make
that.
the shot. All right. All right. So
Last one for survival mode. All right.
So flinging this canteen of holy water out towards this thing, you then bring up the pistol and just fire off. It slams into this canteen. You watch it slam into it and it explodes and water just sprays outward, splashes across this creature. You see it kind of shake its head and then just look up, unaffected.
Holy water does nothing. We've tested the theory.
But it was awesome.
It looked cool, but that's about it.
Is there anything else you would like to do?
I'm gonna try to position myself between the creature and the sheriff, still giving him like cover, like sort of half cover. I'm gonna try to kneel down and just kind of give him some cover from the creature.
Sure.
But so he can still shoot if he wants to.
All right. So this Wendigo is going to sprint forward now. Like it's peeking. It's been hit with multiple bullets, holy water sprayed at it, and its eyes are still fixed on Katrina for this shot into its skull. And as it looks forward, you hear the scraping of the claws as it pushes past the tree, and in like 3 long strides, it makes it up to the group. And as it makes it up, it brings one claw forward and it's gonna slam it down towards Katrina.
No, it won't. No, I'm kidding.
Let's see. What is your parry?
Mine is insignificant. It's a 2.
Insignificant.
Insignificant. Alright, so this thing's claws scrape across Katrina. You hear it ripping flesh as it just slams into her, coming so quick out of nowhere. And this one slash does 11 points of damage. Your damage threshold is 5. So this is going to give you 1 wound, and you are shaken.
Hell yeah, I'm shaken. Holy shit. Okay. Yeah.
Slams into you.
I'm sorry, did you say 11 with like 2 ones?
Yeah. Holy.
Slams into you. You see there's this huge gash. It's very similar to the sheriff's wound on his arm. This huge gash down your shoulder. After it slams into you, it just looks into your face, and you hear this just scream coming from it, even though the skull is not moving. You see its eyes staring into yours, even though there are no eyes there to stare. And as it's standing close to you, this thing is like 9 feet tall. And its antlers stretch out, and it is now directly in front of you, and it looks towards the tallow that's heating up and screeches again. That is its turn.
Okay, alright.
Alright, the sheriff now, you kind of hear just these raspy breathing noises coming from him. He's like trying to hyperventilate, but he can't even do that. Like, he is so hurt. It hurts to breathe. His wounds his ribs are definitely broken. He pulls his gun forward and he just fires like point blank directly at this thing. As he goes to fire, he goes to pull the trigger, and right before he can, the Wendigo looks over and actually slashes at the gun, and there's a brief moment of absolute silence before you hear the gun clatter against the ground. And as you look, the sheriff's arm is severed at the elbow. And he just kind of looks down at it in shock. And that is the sheriff's turn.
We about to die. Like, we are so
You
dead.
really pulled no punches. Oh my god.
I'm here for it. Let's go. All right, let's do it.
Oh my god.
I need
Round 2.
I need to hug my owlbear. Holy shit.
Well, now I need an owlbear. Thanks.
This is crazy.
The Reverend. You do have one Benny left.
I'm gonna spend it.
All right, just for the sake of keeping the cards, this is
Yep.
Jesse's. You
I'm
have
good.
a. You're
I'm
good.
keeping it.
Okay. Man, I'm shaking. I can't even
I
get
know.
this in here. Oh! Oh my goodness. Okay.
Like
Deep
in
breath.
anxiety,
Take a
I've,
deep breath. Take a deep breath.
I've
We've
like
got this.
chipped off all of my nail polish in anxiety. I'm like, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh jeez.
This is
Katrina,
Also has a 4.
you have one Benny left.
I'm gonna keep that for shooting.
All right. That was a much easier time. Thank you. The Wendigo.
Shit.
Fuck.
Um,
Can I amend my like most recent statement and make that Wendigo redraw? No, I don't want to risk it. Oh no.
No, don't do it. Don't do it.
Never
we got
mind. Fuck it.
No,
Fuck it.
but it is going to use one of its own to try to get a higher card.
Ah!
This is for the sheriff.
Oh.
Okay.
We're gonna keep it just because I feel like the sheriff's not in his right mind to have made a decision to.
He's definitely in shock, that guy.
He's finna die.
I mean, he almost put me in shock when I watched his arm get ripped off, so I get it.
So here is the Reverend's second draw.
Oh, nice, Rev.
Oh wait, the Wendigo or the Reverend?
Reverend.
That's me.
Oh, God bless. Okay, sorry.
And here is the Wendigos.
Oh, no!
Shit.
Do any of you want to redraw?
I will. I'll use a Benny and redraw. I think I'm down to 1 now.
Correct.
All right. Okay.
right.
Okay. That's better.
It's not as bad as it was. Okay.
Not as bad as it was. Exactly. We can figure this out.
All right, we sticking with this?
Yes.
Unfortunately, yeah.
All right, so let's see. You both have aces, don't you?
Yeah, I've got the spades and he's got the hearts again.
All right, I think you go first.
All right. Am I near Miss Katrina?
Yes.
Am I near the creature? Obviously, because it just struck her and then struck the sheriff right behind me, right?
Yeah, it's just right up on you.
His wrist, are they smaller, like a humanoid's wrist, or are they bulkier and bigger, extending into those claws? More like a animal, bear size.
They're pretty small. Small enough at least where you could probably get a couple clicks of those handcuffs.
Quick draw, handcuffs, latch him onto myself, latch him onto the creature's wrist, and I start trying to drag him away from the rest of everybody else.
Make a strength roll for me.
What are you doing?
I'm distracting it so you guys can do what needs to be done. Oh god, I told you I was gonna die. Okay, strength. Oh god, I'm not good at strength. Here we go. Okay. I got a 4 on the D6, a 1 on the D4. Oh my god.
All right.
Like, I'm not trying to get him far, I'm just trying to really get his attention and kind of pull him away specifically from Katrina, because I can't let him kill her.
I need the possum. Oh man. Okay. All
So
right, we're adding-
typically something like this would be like a contested roll, like a strength versus the strength. This thing is so focused on Katrina and the sheriff and this tallow that this happens so quickly that this yank does kind of pull it at least a step in the direction that you're trying to pull it, and it seems confused for a moment, and then it looks over, sees you, and screeches. I'm gonna give you a Benny for that.
Oh, thank you.
You have another one at your disposal. Damn. Okay. Cool.
I am screaming the Lord's Prayer. I'm like just praying at this thing the whole time, just
All right.
screeching my prayers at it.
All right. So this Wendigo, now being yanked over by you, it looks down at this these silver handcuffs that are restraining it at this point, and it looks up at you, and it shrieks, and it's gonna bring both claws just down in your direction, just lunging for you away from the group.
For you, Gertie.
That is an 11 to hit.
That, yeah. I have a 2.
That damage will be... an ace on the D8.
Can I spin a Benny to reduce that?
You can spend a Benny to try to soak your wounds. Give me a moment here. It's so that would be 19 damage total. Which your toughness is 5. So that maxes out the amount of damage that you can take. So you would, if you take these wounds, you would be incapacitated and bleeding out on the ground.
I will spend a Benny to soak, if that's what does that do?
Yes, you can spend a Benny right now and make a vigor check for me.
Okay.
I'm gonna fucking puke.
Well, that's an exploding 6 on the wild die, 3 on the other d6. That's 11.
Alright, so let's see here. You only have 1 wound, and you are shaken. As these claws go to slam down into you, you use these handcuffs to kind of yank one of the claws away, and the other claw slams in, and you just kind of hold on to it, and you keep those claws from puncturing your lungs or your heart, and you push just enough to where the claws come out. You're hurt.
With a dry, raspy, kind of like blood filling the lungs kind of sound, I just shout at the thing, "You can't have her too!" And I'll pull it away even more.
All right. That is the Wendigo's turn. Looks like we're up to Jesse.
I'm gonna do something young and stupid.
Great.
Okay, I just did something old and stupid, so I'm here.
I'm gonna grab one of the tallows, and I'm gonna jump on the back of the Wendigo and slam this tallow into its mouth.
Beautiful. Okay, so it is very much so distracted by the Reverend right now. This is going to be a fighting roll for you, Jesse.
Okay.
It's going to be a fighting roll. You're going to have +1 to whatever your total is here for the Reverend's assistance.
Okay. Highest one was a 4, +1 for the Reverend's assistance, and I got a 5.
Okay, so as you jump up on this thing, you kind of jump up enough, hold on to its fur in some places, holding onto the tallow with one hand. You reach up, you grab onto the antlers. You are fully on this thing's back, but as you go to spin around, you don't quite make it to its mouth. You kind of slam it in. It doesn't break the glass, but right now you are just dangling from the back of this creature. It does not consume the tallow.
Oof. Okay. Is there anything else I can do? I can still do stuff?
Yeah, it just kind of depends what it is. What would you like to do?
I'm thinking about that silver blade that I have in my holster instead of my Bowie knife. If I can use it, but I'd have to drop the tallow. That's the only other thing. Like, I'd drop the tallow and grab the knife.
I would say you could do that if you wanted to, but that is entirely up to you.
I'm gonna drop the tallow. We've still got 2 more tallows, right? 3 more tallows?
Should have 3 more, yeah.
No, I'm gonna hold on. No, I'm gonna hold on and try to use that tallow later.
Okay.
I'm gonna try and keep getting that tallow because we need to weaken it first.
The
right.
wounds that it was hit with silver, are those wounds still open? Are they healing?
I'd say it's a little hard to notice right now.
Okay, got it. Fair.
Okay, who's up next? There's a total glare on this thing.
I believe
4.
it's me. It's the 4.
It's
Katrina
the
and then the sheriff.
Yeah, Katrina, you're up.
Jesus. I'm not exaggerating when I say I'm considering just taking one of my, like, acute response anxiety pills. Okay, fuck. Alright, okay. So, this thing's mouth is open?
Currently, it is snarling at the Reverend, and with Jesse hanging on to the horns, it is kind of like flailing around, and it's not like constantly open, but that you have opportunities.
Okay, okay, alright. Sorry. I'm like actively fighting off a panic attack.
We are all, believe me, we are all there.
Okay, no. Alright, so I would like to take my vial of tallow and like see if I can grab like underneath its chin and like force feed it.
All right, so with Jesse and the Reverend both flanking this thing, that gives you a +2 bonus to your fighting roll. You're not skilled in fighting, so that would usually give you a -2. So you have just a straight roll. Does that make sense?
Yeah, just a straight
So you'll roll your d4 and your wild die.
Okay, sorry. Alright, okay, alright. I was also gonna see if hear me out. This is gonna sound so stupid, but as an escort, I also, if people like to be jerked around a little bit, I can do that. I was gonna argue that so that I could use that 6 and have that like Dommy experience.
Okay,
Jesse's virgin ears are like, what is she talking about?
so what skill were you wanting to use?
Trade brackets escort.
Okay.
That's a very creative argument, and feel free to say no.
I'm gonna take your last Benny and let you do it.
Okay, that fucking works.
Alright.
Okay. Alright, let's go. 2d6, baby. No! Sorry.
Oh no!
Double ones?
2 and a 3.
Okay, as long as it's not double ones.
I didn't mean to scream into the...
You're fine.
Oh, this is a fun...
Alright, so, yeah, you grab this thing by its throat, basically. Not by its jaw. You grab this thing by its throat, and you bring one thumb up, just barely, to, like, push into that pressure point right there. And as you do that, its mouth opens, and you jam this vial of tallow into its mouth. And your arm is also in its mouth. It hasn't clamped down, but it does currently have a hold of you. Your arm is in this thing's mouth. And that is your turn.
What?
Alright.
I know what the sheriff's gonna do. He's just gonna stand there and bleed.
Yeah. The sheriff actually, you hear his body, clatter against the ground, like flump against the ground as he is passed out. He is unconscious, blood still just... He's bleeding out, essentially. You know what this looks like. He doesn't have long if his wounds are not tended to. The Reverend. It's not really wanting to focus, but... We have Jesse.
Okay, I'll take it.
We have Katrina.
Go. Let's go, Katrina. Let's go.
Let's go, Katrina. Let's go.
And we have the Wendigo.
Yes!
Go!
Yes!
Who is
Let's go!
Spending a Benny.
going to spend a
Oh
Benny.
no!
No, it
no,
won't.
no.
Okay, we're still
Alright,
good.
okay.
We're still okay. We're still okay.
All
We're
right,
still okay.
we're up.
Alright, so I believe it is Katrina.
Oh wait, is the Chevron? No, he's incapacitated. Okay,
Right,
all right,
he's
great.
gone.
Okay, sorry, I fully blanked. I blacked out.
So you are up first. Your arm is inside of this creature's mouth, and it has not had the opportunity to clamp down yet.
Good. Can I uncork and then take my arm out? Uncork to. You know what I'm trying to do.
Okay, I'm gonna say make an agility check.
Okay, good. I can do that.
Yeah, your agility's pretty good.
Whew. Thank you for being kind to me while I'm literally panicking. Oh, hell fucking yes. Okay, I got a 4 on my agility die and a 5 on my wild die, so we're good.
All right, so okay, got it. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so your hand inside of this thing's mouth, you just dunk, pop the cork off of this vial, and your hand is still inside, and you hear dunk, dunk, and you just this sizzling from inside of this creature's mouth. If a skeleton's eyes could widen, that is like the expression that this body language is giving you right now. And it immediately, you don't even have to pull your arm free because it immediately lets go and backs up a little bit and starts shaking its head and screaming. You see like some of the tallow coming out as he's shaking his head like a slobbering dog when they shake. That's kind of how this looks. The tallow is just slopping around, but it is burning, and it is screeching, and its whole body is steaming. That was a good turn.
It's a great turn.
It was. It's
Yeah,
great. It's great.
I screamed, stab it in the heart. Stab it in the heart.
What was that one more time?
Stab it in the heart.
All right, I believe the Reverend is up next.
All right, I want to try to do something really cool and heroic, and also it's not going to do anything to the creature, but it's just going to look cool and try to, keep its attention on me, hopefully. But I want to use my one gun that I have in my hand still, press it against the handcuffs, and pull the trigger point blank to break the handcuffs. And then, since I'm ambidextrous, I want to drop that gun, quick draw with my free hand as I'm scuttling back, and just fan the hammer into the chest of this thing.
Smart.
Wonderful. And you do not have silver bullets, correct?
I don't. It would just piss it off, but that's what I'm trying to keep it pissed off on me, so it keeps its mind off of Jesse.
Okay. Go ahead.
I'm also trying to scuttle backwards as I'm doing it too.
Okay, so make an agility or make a shooting check, and we'll see if you can break those handcuffs with that.
That is a 7 on a D8 and a 6 on the D6.
All right, so easy enough. You just fire. These handcuffs explode at the base of where it is attached to you, and you begin backing up and just firing. You guys just hear pop, 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 as we now move on to I
Wendigo.
believe the Wendigo. Yeah, the tallow in its mouth now getting just filled with bullets. It's screeching. This tallow is burning down its throat. You see it burning actual holes in its esophagus as it's going down, and as it's shrieking, it looks around to all of you. It sees the Reverend, pretty wounded. It sees Katrina, pretty wounded, and it is going to, with the Reverend shooting at it, and it recognizing it's not being hit by anything life-threatening. It turns and it looks to Jesse and Katrina, who have shot silver bullets into this thing. And as it turns and looks, it decides to go for the strongest of the two, the least wounded. And it immediately lunges towards Jesse. And that is a 5, and your parry is 5. So it lunges towards you, slams into you. It kind of like backhands you, is more of what the feeling is. It punches you in the face, essentially. You take no wounds from this encounter. As it slams into you and then screams in your face, you just sit there, and as it's towering over you, you just look up at it, and that is the Wendigo's turn. Jesse, you're up.
So it's looking at me and I'm like, oh, you did the wrong thing. And I pull out the silver blade and I jam it right into its heart.
Fuck yeah, you do.
I know it's not a demon, but I start chanting like exorcism rites at it as he's doing, just like screaming that at the creature, telling it to go back to hell.
All right, so make your fighting roll and +2.
Go back to whatever hell you came from!
I need to spend my last pen.
Done.
Okay, 5 on the wild die with a +2, that's 7.
Tell me how you kill this thing.
Okay. So I actually kind of lure it towards me a little bit more. Like I'm like, oh no. And I kind of hold back, but as he's coming towards me, I turn around and I've got the silver blade and I shove it right into his heart. And I use all my strength that I have to twist as much as I can, as it's like, it feels like the blade's gonna snap. It's so hard. But I finally just twist it all the way around and he almost collapses into me, but I take my last surge and I throw him down and let him fall away from me.
All right, so just to narrate this, we had Katrina's hand inside of this thing's mouth pops the tallow vial. The tallow burns down its throat. She's able to pull her arm free, kind of stumbles back a little bit, and then we have the Reverend just fanning with bullets, just over and over and over, and then he just starts shouting exorcism rites to this thing, just shouting and shouting and shouting, and then we have it stalking over Jesse, unable to make contact as it just tries to slam down as one last hoorah as this tallow is dripping down its throat. And as it lunges forward, you move with it and allow it to lunge directly into your knife. You turn it, you hear the crunching as it just crunches past whatever barrier there was there, and as this silver knife slams into this thing's heart, you hear its breathing stop. You hear those noises in your heads not stopping but beginning to fade off into the distance. And as you push this thing's body off, it slumps down to the ground and the night falls silent once more.
I immediately slide over to the Reverend and start trying to treat him for shock and to close, put a tourniquet on the arm that's bleeding, causing him to bleed out.
The sheriff?
Sheriff, yes. What did I say? The Reverend?
The Reverend. You're like, you're doing yourself?
I'm healing myself. No, I'm going after the sheriff, sorry.
Go ahead and make a medicine check.
I like Katrina, am a nervous wreck right now. Whew, okay. 4 and a 5 on 2d6s.
The sheriff is dead.
Oh.
As you're leaning down, Reverend, you grab onto his arm and immediately start wrapping to tourniquet. And as you're kind of moving him around, you kind of feel, and then you reach up and feel for a pulse, and there is none.
Start saying a prayer over him. I close his eyes. Take his badge. I'll walk over to Jesse. You are the right man for the job for this, and I'm sorry. And I hand it to him. And I put a hand on his shoulder, and you see tears fill his eyes, and I didn't want it to take anyone else. But now it can't.
And this is when you hear a voice come from a little ways down the road. You hear a man's voice, and he says, "Did you pierce its heart with silver?"
Sure did.
And as you turn around, you see a figure standing. He seems to have gotten off of his horse kind of a ways away and walked over. He's got a gun in his hand. He has some sort of silver-looking blade in the other. And he kind of holds them up to show he's not a threat to you as he walks a little closer. He's got a hat kind of pulled down a little bit. And as he gets closer, he looks at this thing lying dead on the ground, and he looks over at the sheriff and shakes his head, and then he looks up to you and he says, "Been hunting this thing for a while. Thank you for taking care of it for me."
I say, no problem, Jack.
He nods.
Are
I
there
got
more?
Not that I know of. Just been looking for this one. There were a few of them in a town up north, and this is the one that got away. And he kind of kicks it on the ground.
Did you chase it down here a year ago?
Been chasing it around. It's been about 2 years now that it left the town I was hunting it from.
I immediately charge towards him, grab him by the collars. It's because of you she's dead. You did this! And I'll throw him away, and I'll walk back to my horse, picking up my gun along the way.
He doesn't seem to immediately react to that, and kind of straightens his clothes, straightens his hat. "I'm terribly sorry for your loss. I've seen more than you can imagine following this creature. I know that don't make it any easier. These creatures and things like them, they've been getting braver. They've been angrier. They've been showing themselves more. It's getting real bad east of here, and that's where I'm heading. Maybe our paths will cross again one day."
Hope it's later than sooner.
He nods, and you see him pocket his blade and holster his weapon, and he turns around and heads back for his horse, mounts it, and eventually you hear him riding off. And you now stand alone in what quickly becomes the early hours of the morning, over a Wendigo's corpse. You are alive, you're bruised, you're a little beaten, you have some wounds to take care of. And as the adrenaline fades, you already feel your muscles sore and your eyes tired from the entire night, the longest night, the craziest night. The body is still steaming as the silver is eating away parts of its muscle and skin and fur. And as the wind blows, you glance around at each other with tired but triumphant smiles.